And finally, AFSCME, the Association of Federal, State, County, and Municipal Employees. All of these are unions, and they have put so far $175,000 forward to support the so-called Safe and Healthy Contra Costa scam is what this is. Okay, and I got curious. I took a look initially at the state controller's site, and then finally Transparent California, at my urging, updated their own data where they showed not just the dollars, but the names. And the county total workforce, so-called, is something just over 12,000 people. The full-time portion of that is probably around 10,000. We have almost half of the employees in Contra Costa County at, in other words, 4,781 of them, over $150,000 in salaries and benefits as of 2024. Wow. And it's gone up from there, but 2024 is the last full year available. And then take a look at the rest. Over 3,000 employees above 200K in salaries and benefits, 1,882 above 250, over 1,000 above 300,000. We're getting to executive salaries for 1,000 people within the county, as is. 278 employees above 400K and 70 of them above 500,000. One of those, I think he's number 32 on the list, is Sergio Urquio. He's one of the supporters of the Safe and Healthy so-called campaign. He's a speaker on their website. So I thought we'd make sure we gave him greater prominence today. And he is, I think, number 32 at 500K himself, over that number in his salaries and benefits. So he's medical director, one of 6 medical directors, and they're all of them above 500K. He's way down the list, actually, but he's the spokesman they put forward. Apparently, he has no clinical duties based on the job description. It's all management. There's 6 of these people. And just Sergio Urquio. Here, you can see that again.
I'll be sharing this video.
Urquio. So you should have a copy there that you can see. And then you may have read that the county essentially misrepresented its finances to the entire public beginning in December of last year. They had a presentation to them that suggested a number, $307 million. And that was a cumulative deficiency. Their analysts said they've hired an outside firm to look at their finances. That outside firm has an $8 million contract to begin with. And that outside firm said to them in December, you're going to see a $307 million deficiency over the next 5 years. They took that to mean $307 million per year, annually. In other words, over the next 5 years, $1.5 billion. That was always a lie, and we caught them on the lie. And I communicated directly myself to each of the supervisorial offices and said, you got it wrong, people. The only one who responded affirmatively and said, yeah, we were wrong, is Candace Anderson. And she's in the Danville, San Ramon, south end of the district is her supervisory area, Lafayette also included. So at any rate, her office, I did get in contact with a nice lady there. Jen is her name, Qualic. And she passed it on to Miss Anderson. And she did step forward in the February 3rd meeting where they put this monster on the ballot and said, this is wrong. It's a cumulative amount. And not only that, that day, the day that they put Measure B on the ballot, March the 3rd, it was admitted that, yeah, we got it wrong. And their outside finance director put forward a new slide that showed essentially that their deficiency over until fiscal year 28-29 is actually $219 million. That's the actual amount cumulatively by 28-29. Not even 307 million. We're going to get questions later, but 219. And then their minutes show 239. So there's some craziness about what the real number is, but the real number is 219 million. Not only that, but they have something that they call their hospital enterprise fund. And that's run a surplus for a long time, large amounts, nearly $500 million. That fund, because of dropbacks in state and federal dropbacks in funding. They claim it's all Donald Trump, it's all HR 1, the big beautiful bill, and that's cut all our funding. Well, there has been some cuts, but some of it's already been restored. So they had to drop away from even their $307 million over 5 years to 219 realistically by 28-29. And what they added as of March 3rd they added 2 more years, assuming that we've got these kind of losses that go into the next presidential administration and 2 Congresses from now. They're assuming that nothing changes. And therefore, by that time, they're expecting $1 billion deficiency. But most of that, 596 million of it, comes in these 2 years, FY 29-30, FY 30-31. So they projected way into the future and said, this is how things are going to be. They really are not going to be. So this is more of the lie. As Mark said, let me go back. Mark noted this, that there's already been a restoration of some of that funding via HR 7148. So they're already catching back up to federal funding. They will soon catch up to more state funding. So the whole thing is a sham, a scam, as Measure X was. Next, this really irks me and should irk everyone. There's a section of Revenue Taxation Code 7251.1 that in so many words says the maximal local sales tax rate that can be added atop the state rate is 2% more. Okay, let's do some math. The state rate for sales tax, anybody know what it is? Statewide rate, 7.25%. All right. What's 7.25 plus 2% more? 9.25. All right. So the statutory limit for the state is 9.25%. Well, in Contra Costa County, we already have 10 jurisdictions above that level. And if you look at the last page of the handout, you will see what happens if Measure B passes. Not only will every jurisdiction in the county be above 9.25%, but a number of them will be approaching 11%, especially true if the transit tax passes in November. So we're being lied to over and over. And what's amazing is that these people think they can keep getting away with these restatements of the statute. The statute is black letter law. It says you can't go more than 2% above the state sales tax limit. So statutorily, the limit's 9.25. They walk around that with bought and paid legislators who take new bills before the legislature and get them passed and say, you know, that 9.25 limit or the 2% locally, it really doesn't mean what it says. So we're going to say it doesn't. And we're going to proclaim that our new change is declaratory of existing law. They actually use that language. So violating the law is somehow declaratory of existing law. That's the game played by the most cynical of legislators, is what we have in Sacramento. Measure X, excuse me, getting hoarse. 2020's Measure X alone already took 6 jurisdictions above the state limit as of 2020. More have gone above since. So what we have is the emperor's new clothes, so that these people get the people believing that this naked grab, taxpayer money, somehow is representative of existing law. It's not. So this is what they hope people will see and believe. So as with 2020's Measure X, Measure B's 0.625% has been placed on the ballot. And once again, as happened with Measure X, it's before even they put forward the bill to supposedly legitimize it. What happened in 2020 was the bill that legitimized Measure X on the ballot in November of 2020 finally passed the legislature on the last available day, August 31st of 2020. Newsom, the governor, didn't sign it until the last available day, September 30th of 2020. The election was 5 weeks later. So they had this measure on the ballot long before the supposedly enabling legislation allowed it to be on the ballot. So they're doing that once again. We're not sure yet what the legislation is going to be. I looked at 1408, Mark has said, but so far, SB 1408 is merely about transit taxes. So apparently you're going to junk that language and somehow say, we can go forward with this measure. It's illegitimate from every perspective. Okay, some other factors and the conclusion on Measure B. Measure X's take, already $120 million in just year 5 of a 20-year run. They will play the same game with Measure B this time around for its 5-year run. By the time it's done, it'll probably be twice this 150 million they expect. They already have accumulated. This one we didn't have a chance to see on the fine print. Measure X already has an accumulated balance sitting there unused. They've allocated some of it, but they haven't spent, of $263 million. So Measure X has a funding pot, $263 million. Next bullet point. The Hospital Enterprise Fund which I showed you approaches $500 million in some cases, it doesn't project a deficit until 28, 29, that fiscal year. And that deficit at that point is $35 million. So again, huge projection, several years forward, and it's only 35 million at this point in reality. Further, the Democrat legislature is not going to sit there and let that happen. That funding will be restored. So what happens to the 150 million that they hope to generate from Measure B? Take a guess. Look back at the union contract page to figure out what's going to happen. Today's affordability problems are severe for lots of people. And so what happens with a sales tax, you're going to add 0.625% more to buy something. And it's also called regressive, meaning that the people who have the biggest trouble paying the tax like that are the people who can least afford it. Conclusions. Measure B should be soundly rejected. And Contra, Costa, if they really need the money, should take this Measure X surplus and apply that actually to healthcare for once. So that's what should happen with this mess. Okay, that's it for Measure B. I'm going to speed through Measure G, and then we'll open up to questions.